We're good?
Now we are.
With the motion, we open the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll take trustee Cove a second. Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall, Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
I make a motion to go into an executive session for the purpose of discussing an HR matter.
A second.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall, Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion that, excuse me. We leave exec, no, we have to leave executive session
Second.
another time. You guys are
I'm gonna give trustee Wilkes a turn, okay? Trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall, trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Excuse me. I make a motion, we reopen the meeting.
Second.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Is there any board member with a conflict of interest or anything to disclose regarding items on the agenda this evening?
I have none. I've none.
I know.
I've none.
I do. Okay, with that being said, would the deputy clerk give us the highlights of the open meeting compliance certification?
Yes, public comments will be allowed during relevant agenda items. Please state your name, address, organization. Limit comments to 3 minutes. Be respectful and follow standard rules of decorum. Zoom participants, please raise your hand or use the Q&A feature. All speakers must be recognized by the mayor.
Thank you. That being said, could we please stand and we have trustee Woods, lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any public comment this evening? Yes.
Hi, Robert Corby, 7 Washington Avenue, and I'm asking for your courtesy and the favor tonight. The Friends of the Arboretum will be on your next agenda for a very succinct, minor request. But I'm asking if you would give us permission for part of that request tonight because of the calendar. We have received a $400 donation for a white oak tree, which is a keystone pollinator. Which is, it's about a 1-inch caliper that we'd like to plant in the arboretum in the meadow. It would be very close to where the tree was, Marie Bennett's donated tree was planted a year ago. We may have to do a couple of test pits because you never know the substrate in that area. But I'm hoping you could give us permission tonight so we can go ahead and plant it, because we are getting late to the planting season.
Okay, any thoughts from the board? Sounds great. No tree, you just want to tree.
Awesome.
You can say no to a tree.
I know,
Okay, yeah.
especially a keystone.
You need a
I
motion for that?
make a motion to allow the Friend of the Arboretum to plant the white oak tree. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove, trustee Marshall,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for planting the tree. That's great. That'll be wonderful. Any other comments? Anybody else?
Just ahead of this meeting, we received written comments from Justin Valistra to be forwarded to the board, which they have.
Okay.
I have printed copies if any of the board wants to see them now, but they are forwarded to you by email.
Okay. Thank you.
Alexander, how many people do we have online?
We have 5 attendees.
Okay.
You're welcome.
It's in.
It is, yeah, if anyone.
I have one, thank you.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
You want one, babe?
Do you have an email or?
Yeah.
Want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
check everybody? I don't know, we'll handle that.
There's
There we
one
go.
for Jeff.
Another tree. Thank goodness for planting it out.
Yes.
All right.
But we don't have any comments online, or that was all we received ahead of the meeting.
Let's see, so the first thing on the agenda is the public hearing for the Buffalo Bill short-term rental permit.
Personal rate there.
Well, sorry, Birch, what, thinking of short-term rental, short-term retail. Permit, anything you wanna say about that, Steve? And it's all pretty much the same, isn't
It's
it?
the
Yeah.
same, the roof, I have the roof, it's the same roof that they've been using for years. They would typically be doing only morning sessions this year versus, afternoons. But still the same function as has been for many, many years.
Yeah, I think it's 25 years this year, maybe, yeah.
So we just have to make a motion to open the public hearing, right? Yep, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing, the Buffalo Bill short-term rental permit. Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Lindbeck, member Wilks,
Aye.
sorry, trustee, wrong
Yeah.
board, I'm sorry, everyone. Trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall, Mayor Plummer. Motion passes.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Anybody online wishing to speak? Any?
I don't have any hands or Q&A.
Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the short.
We need to close this.
Oh, make a motion, close.
A second?
Trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Wilks,
Aye.
trustee Lindbeck,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, the hearing is now closed. It's back to the board. Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the special permit for the Buffalo Bill's short-term rental
Retail.
retail.
You
Short-term retail.
heard me, and I was like,
I
it's like year one.
To my
It's like a year
mind,
one in
been
here,
2
you know?
years. Yes.
Second that.
Trustee Lindbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilks,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Yay, Buffalo
Go
Bills.
Bills.
Thank you.
No bills, yeah.
The Mary quarterback.
Tell them how many tickets we need.
Yes.
Every year he does.
Yeah, it's okay.
He tries.
Yeah, every year. 25 years. Great, thanks. Steve.
I don't need me for anything
I
else.
think we're set, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Are we putting the flags up again for that?
They go up, I mean,
Yeah.
it's standard.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, take care, Steve. Have a good evening. Okay, next up are the bids on the Village Hall, East Porch and the Falconet repairs. We did receive 2 bids. I think everybody's had a chance to review it. I know that Dorothea had reached out to, John Aarons from Bureau. You know, we have a significantly lower bid. And we did end up speaking with Jen, on the phone about Hyundai Construction. We weren't as familiar with them. She had done some, you know, had some discussion with them. And she's overseeing the entire project, so, you know.
Did she have any commentary on why it was so, I mean, it's, you know, a
Um,
third.
Yeah, because I think really what it is Hyundai Construction really wants to. Expand their operations into more rehabilitation, restoration. And, you know, we're pretty high profile. So I think they saw this really as an
Like a
opportunity.
marquee project.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think they saw this as an opportunity. And so, you know, I think for us, it's kind of a good thing.
Did they verify that they had covered all the scope?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
no, she had reviewed everything, exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll make a motion, we award, the construction of the east porch and balcony repairs to Hungate Construction for $41,934.74.
A second?
Roll call, please.
Trustee Marshall,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Wilks,
Aye.
trustee Lindbeck,
Right.
Mayor Plummer.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next up is setting the public hearing for the LOR district. Excuse me. And thank you, Beth. So what would the date be?
I would be for the 24th, our
So
next
still-
meeting.
Still within the time.
Yes, our next regular meeting, June 24th, 6 p.m.
At 6?
Yes.
Okay.
So can I just, so this is from Justin's, I don't know if you've had a chance to read his letter. He said he had concern about the meeting packet, saying that we're considering a public hearing for the LOR district. The planning board's letter recommended allowing medical offices in LOR and BCB. And that needs to be formally addressed by the trustees as written, pursuant to Village Code 210-37.3. The trustees must consider the planning board recommendation as written and either send it to public hearing or deny. So, did we satisfy that?
Why don't we speak with, yeah.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, why don't we speak with our attorney about what you have what Mr. Bleedstra wrote.
You did it on your own motion. Right?
I'm sorry,
You did it on your own motion.
Yeah.
Not the authority to change code.
yeah,
You don't have to be bound by what the planning board says in terms of what goes to public hearing.
I mean, I always thought that whatever we receive from another board, we take under advisement
Oh, no,
in that,
in this case, with the rezoning.
oh, with the rezoning, you're right, okay,
But you don't have to,
yeah.
you don't, have to.
I think you just said that, do we need to have it written, addressed in writing?
Have what, Norman?
Shoot, if you take a look at this first page, the second paragraph, I have concern about your meeting packet. You see that? It's really too procedural. It looks like, you know, Justin's there.
I'm sorry, Lisa, well, just give me a reference to the code. I have to, I didn't see this from.
I think it's just about,
Thank you for
so
it.
this, yes, this part, I think that is what I'm referring to.
I mean, you certainly can put it on an agenda to consider this. But you have on your own motion. Decided that you want to consider whether or not you would expand uses in LOR. So there's sort of different things.
To that end, I'm just reading what I think this was drafted. So, do we have to respond to the recommendation with either denial or approve? And then
That's what I think he's saying.
can
Oh, about a response
Yes.
from the
Yes.
board to the PCBA.
Right.
So you'd have to properly agenda it
Mm-hmm.
and then respond.
Okay, we put it on the next agenda.
That doesn't interfere with anything you want.
Right, there's no set date for that. Of course, yeah, because that's our only action.
right, it doesn't preclude you from doing it yourself, right? You could deny them and then take a different track.
Mhm.
Or you don't have to deny them to take a different track.
Right, either way.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, David? Yeah.
Well, less about this from the
Oh.
PCBA, but more so just a general question as we're looking at
Mhm.
the zoning. So I had what at least is on the website for our latest kind of districts.
Mhm.
And so a couple of cleanup things. One, have we also thought about the fact that on the, what is it, west side? So 19 Main, South Main, or North Main, and then 33 and 31, I think that was recently sold. Again, a bit of a confusion as it relates to, especially now that 19 is, we know, residential,
you're looking at the zoning now?
at a zoning map. Have we thought about that being shifted into the LBR?
Hang on just a second, I wanna be on the same page.
Into what? LBR?
The LBR,
Well,
This,
you're looking at,
yeah,
okay,
well, it's part of it.
okay, all right, okay, let me.
So 19 is the only one over here that's part of the LOR
Mhm.
by itself.
Oh, I
mean,
see what you're
I
saying,
didn't know.
like, well, over here, get the goblet.
Exactly,
I
so,
don't think-
you know, while we're doing something, we're looking at this, why is it as LOR, the only one here surrounded by LDR, it's now residential?
Well, we can certainly come back and revisit that. for sure, you know, really more comprehensively, I see where you're going with that.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other aspect is, as we are looking at
Mhm.
this. As someone who deals with Jefferson and traffic and all this type of stuff, parking issues,
Mhm.
what are we thinking about as it relates to, if we do allow that?
Mhm.
How we are going to address probably the increased traffic as it relates to medical office versus, I think, lawyers right now. Law
Yeah, well-
offices,
And whether or not there really would be or not.
exactly, because again, if you're thinking
Yeah,
of.
which typically there hasn't been, but.
Well, but I'm thinking like if it's a current private practice, right? And you
Yeah.
have 3 positions, or it's a dental office or whatever it is,
Well-
it's likely gonna be higher traffic.
Well, I can tell you that what was behind where Chicky is now. On North Main
Mhm.
was a dental office for over 35 years. And was taken out. It was removed from its code, and so there were never any other issues, so. Anyway, I see where you're going with
see
that,
where- yeah,
but
yeah.
this is a discussion, I think, David, that you had brought up actually a while back, that we kind of need more of like, maybe a workshop on this and really take a look at.
Zoning in general.
Yeah, just zoning in general, you're right, because there's more.
Right,
moving
because
parts.
more, exactly.
So.
Yeah, but you know, the sort of where we are right now is just looking at this particular component of the LOR. You know, whether or not we want to send it.
But it would-
back to you.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
And I'm just trying to think second derivative.
oh, sure,
And
sure,
so from the standpoint of if we do make this change, that
Mhm.
we are cognizant as a
Mhm.
board as it
Mhm.
relates to what the repercussions might be if we
Mhm.
do make that change. That's.
well, then why don't we, because we spoke about this, about when we would do this, and we were going into summer, I remember we had this conversation. So it's a little more difficult, that
Yeah.
maybe we would, you know, think about September to really crank this up and take a look at things more comprehensively.
Yeah, I'm not of the mindset right now. I know we could
Mhm.
do this public hearing, we could have a conversation in public about it,
Mhm.
but initially, I'm not of the mindset, similar to the shared concerns.
Mhm.
This is it's not transient, it's like a translate song. It's going from mixed use to, it's kind of the end of the residential row, right? If you think about how Monroe kind of squeezes in around the back of the canal lamp and these homes. And there's a little bit of concern that I have about bleeding it out into medical office and the parking that might be required. And my preference, frankly, I know we just passed the short-term rental law, but the short-term rental law allows for Airbnbs and short-term rentals in this
Yeah,
zone,
right.
which is really an optimal location for some of that opportunity.
Yeah.
As we think about what's going to become the opportunity set, where do you want the village to go with regards to these real estate? And it preserves the more residential character, but allows for that redevelopment in a slightly different path than medical. So my
I see
initial
it as-
response is maybe don't do this quite yet. Let's have a bigger conversation.
Okay, it's interesting then that we did get to this point. I see it. I see all of it. In other words, why would you preclude one from the other? If you want to have an Airbnb, do it. Zone for it. If you want to have, you know, the little bit of the expansion with the medical in this, so
Mhm.
whatever it is for your practice,
Mhm.
you can do that too. Maybe, you know, I think we have an opportunity to really look far more creatively at it instead of, yep, this is only STR, you know, like, let's take a look. Maybe it could be an office, maybe it could be an Airbnb, maybe there's a rental on the top floor, there's an Airbnb below, maybe, you know, to really, if we're gonna look at this and we know that, you know, times have changed, let's be far more sort of, you know, broader of how it would look for an owner of the property. You know, rather than, nope, it's only gonna be this. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. That's why when we did speak about doing more, you know, workshop and really kind of looking at, you know, the larger components of all of this. I think that's a great idea, you know.
So I guess my question is then, to David's
Mhm.
suggestion is, why don't we kind of table this and look at it as the whole district? Like, why are we spotting it? Why don't
Well,
we
if
take a
you
look at
recall, this came, Steve brought this up because there was a property owner that has been trying to rent this property and he had somebody who wants to rent it and
Right.
it doesn't quite meet the criteria in the code for what it's zoned for now, because they do limited medical procedures.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Got it.
what prompted this particular component. Because that particular property's been vacant for well over a year. So that's only why it's here like right now, yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's
Yeah.
not really here right now.
However, changing the whole code because of that particular.
It's not that big a change though.
Well, it is a big change because.
I'm
Yeah,
not so
it's
sure.
changed. 20 years, it's been what it is now, and that property's been used as, you know, appropriate zoning. And I don't know why we're pushing to change for one.
Okay, so,
I say we take a look at the whole big picture.
I'll share with you my
yeah,
just quick thought,
sure.
which is when we moved this to 59, right, which was to instruct Jeff to write the code to respond to the planning board's letter, essentially, even though they're not connected, they're disconnected. It was a rather quick, fairly easy, let's talk about this. That meeting was fairly heavy, if I remember, and it was sort of put in, frankly, it wasn't a decision that had the inability to reflect on after the fact. So sure, Jeff, you want to write some, you know, write it up, we'll take a look at it, we go during public hearing, we cannot. So this meeting's a little lighter. We also had some time between last time and now to reflect on that area, that zone. And again, for me, the residential character in this part of the village is really important, and I am concerned about use. And I want to think more on it. Yeah.
Okay, I understand, thank you for your input. John, did you have any thoughts on it?
I followed what Dave was saying, like to look at it overall,
Mhm.
rather than one property.
Okay,
I also think that, you know, like I said, we just got this information from Justin, he's got some really good points about two parlors and parking as well, and I'd like the board to take a look at that and be able to read that a little bit more thoroughly.
okay. So is
Dave,
there,
sorry.
no, go ahead, please, please.
Are you talking about for the STR, kind of character side, the east side of North Main?
So
More
it's
so?
it's a great question. So as you look at the zoning map, you have that little
That like,
orange bit.
yeah,
Now, the orange bit, I can't put myself in the shoes of the people who wrote the map and designed it and colored it up. But what I do know is that from the time it was created, the building to our right
yeah.
was owned by the fire department. And the last thing I think anybody really wanted to do was zone them out of something that they might be able to do. Again, I'm not trying to put myself in their shoes. So would that probably have made more sense to be residential and be included in the northwest section of North Main? Absolutely, absolutely. So now if you're looking at just the LOR to the right and that sequence of houses, right, the question then becomes, is that something you want to maintain the residential character of over time? Do you want to have that be potentially a higher traffic, higher use location or not? But
Assuming that there would be higher traffic, I mean, I think that's an interesting
Okay, yeah, that's,
question that has yet to even be answered, because, for example, the properties across the street back up to the canal side office building with, you know, that's medical, for the most part, it has been in the past anyway.
Yeah.
To a municipal lot, to a municipal library and other businesses.
Yeah.
So it's all businesses really on that side. So in terms of what does that look like when you say increased traffic in an area that's already activated in a different way? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, well, I think to your point, Mayor, as you look at the statement, right, or what was drafted by Jeff in the initial part included in the packet, it's changing from not a permitted use to just straight up permitted. I think what you're suggesting is that there's something in between, which is understanding the parking requirements of a particular establishment, understanding the elements that might concern, you know, David or I, or John. In which case, does it mean special permit instead of permit, right? Or does it mean maybe we don't want to take the risk at all, which would leave it alone? But I don't think it's a permit. I don't think it's a straight P. Personally.
Okay, so any further discussion on this?
No.
Okay, just so it's on the record, I make a motion that we move this to public hearing on, June 24th at 6 P.M. For the, LOR district. Revision. Is there a second? Motion fails. It will not move to public hearing. So as an action item, I think, we probably need to be starting to set up, really looking at a comprehensive zoning workshop. Probably, first thing at the end of the summer, whenever it's on the other side of summer.
I think that's a good idea.
And I think it'd be great.
Yeah, we've been talking about that a long time.
So as part of that zoning conversation, we can include parking conversations, we can include use conversations.
Mhm.
And we can reflect on how it incorporates the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan doesn't have an LOR district embedded in it, it's not a thing,
Right.
right? So you kind of have to marry what the code's saying, what the comp plan's doing, and
Yeah, yeah,
so I look forward to it.
yes, me too.
Okay, great. Okay, next up, planning and zoning board and HPD appointments. We have two, well, let's do HPD's quick. We have had that vacancy open. It actually is just finishing out the end of the term. I think it was Jeff Pollock's position. And you've all had Abigail in place. I was made to look at, I don't know, some, you could reach out to her and spoken with her. She's really interested, she's lived in the village a number of years, she's, a big part of our community.
So two questions, was this advertised anywhere for the village to let people know that it's open?
Yeah, you asked that question, I believe, in the last meeting, and Dorothea said, yes, it's always advertised. We have been transitioning our website, and I believe she brought that up to the board. And I think we're reloading our website right now, so it's going back on.
It's been on both versions for
Yeah.
a while.
Oh, it has, okay,
Yeah.
because I wasn't quite sure where we were, because we're still transitioning.
Yeah.
And has
So,
anybody else applied in there, or is this the only application?
other people I've spoken with, well, this is the latest one that I think was even viable, that actually, I've had conversations with a number of people who actually put in the resume and reached out and followed up, So she took those steps and expressed the interest.
So, I'm sorry, so how many people had applied for this position?
You'd have to ask them for you.
You can share them, so it's in the packet, Jean Powers was first and Kathleen said.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the APD,
Okay.
Abigail and Craig.
So
There's an open position, it's been vacant,
Yeah.
since 2023. This would be finishing out the term through next year.
2023 through 2026.
Yeah.
The 3 terms.
Yes, they are, on HPP, the 3-year term.
And one of the things that we had talked about with the planning board, I don't think it applied, I remember Dave, you and I were sitting here looking at spreadsheets and trying to figure out. How can we fix them so they all gap out at the right time every year,
Mhm.
right? I don't think the HPD had that problem, right?
The HPP does not, this is just a straight up, filling out the rest of the
So
term.
there's 5 of them every
Mhm.
3 years, does that mean some of them double up? Or how does that work?
Some of them have.
Some of them have, so
Yeah.
some years you.
And that's also because, the board, there were some things weren't approved, and so terms were left open,
Right.
that kind of thing, so. We're just trying to catch up, where we're trying to correct the stagger will be in the PCBA, am I correct, Alex?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
but there's.
because the
there's
PCBA is
3
five years, and so that really is significant then, when they're all like leaving us.
years. Right. So this one year, again, 2023 through 2026,
Mhm.
fits in that path
Yes,
and makes all sense.
yes.
Okay.
What?
I was just saying, yep, to
Well,
the,
yeah,
yeah.
I know, but everybody's now,
These-
are.
We'd have a
Yeah.
26, a 27, and
Yeah.
28, so at least,
Maybe not.
yeah.
You make it more confusing.
Again, back to you, I just really wanna make sure that residents had an opportunity to know that there was an opening, and I guess if I knew that there was like 10 applications, then that would obviously be that residents heard about this. I don't know how.
Residents don't always reply, I don't know what else to tell you, could be an internal conversation also administratively with Dorothea, because she always follows up on this, everything goes through the village clerk for these applications. And so this particular person reached out, followed up, and expressed a strong interest in wanting to step up and serve our community, at least certainly to finish out this term that's been open for a number of years.
To Lisa's point, I had a resident, or to kind of help you
Mhm.
explain it for, I had a resident who told me, they're like,
Mhm.
oh yeah, there is a place on the website
Mhm.
where it says you can email for any open position.
Mhm.
And what they said is they kind of have their email on standby. They're like, oh yeah, anytime there's an opening, like I've already sent in my resume, and so that's how they do
Get
it.
an email blast automatically, it was
Yeah.
nothing.
Do you mean that?
No, they proactively sent their.
Yeah, that even if we didn't have openings,
Yeah.
the mayor is constant, ongoingly
Yeah,
accepting.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, too, yeah,
That's-
yeah,
Always an
yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, they kind of said.
But,
here's some-
I would like to say something as well, that, and Jeff, maybe you can chime in on this. I believe regardless of, the mayor appoints. Yeah,
It's an open seat.
and it's an open seat, so I'm
So then you
sharing,
have to have approval.
I'm sharing with you that I'd like to appoint Abigail Pratt. Because I think she's expressed interest and she wants to serve the remainder of this 1 year of this term.
So you don't need approval from us.
Well, it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda.
So it's funny, I see this uniquely different to a degree, which is. This is a appointed or, what's the other term, appointed,
Appointed.
it's all appointed. But it's an appointed position, frankly, you don't have to interview anyone, you can pull a name out of your hat, and it's okay, and this is your prerogative. And I think.
Well, I'd like to get people that are interested and willing to serve and care about her.
I agree, what I'm suggesting is, we're here to say yes or no, more than we are to say, what's the process?
Mhm.
We're here to say yes or no. And so.
Yeah, I mean, and I think too, particularly, things that are administrative, I think are best, really discussed. You can always call the office, always work with staff, always really get an understanding of what that is and how it happens. This is a transaction tonight, essentially. We want to, get people who are on boards that, I feel are qualified. We have on the planning and zoning board. Brett Pagoda unfortunately had to resign the position that he took. He reached out to me and said he had overcommitted a bit. We do know that he's bought another property here in the village.
Oh, did you get another one?
Yeah,
Well, and he has another property, that's even more units.
another
It's-
property downtown.
It's a very good.
And yeah, so I think his heart was in the right place. He's excited to be, in the village and wants to serve the village. And so hopefully he'll circle back at some point, so, anyway, so that seat is open. And so, I'm filling that with Jean Powers. Jean has a strong background. She's an environmental engineer. She's recently moved into the community and I think she'll be a wonderful fresh voice on that board and be able to contribute. And the other vacancy that's there. Excuse me. I'm sorry, you were full. This is the one that is through 27. I'll be appointing. Excuse me, Kathleen Vanderstig, and you have seen her resume. She also has an extremely strong background. She's lived in the village for decades. They've raised her family here. Kids are grown. And she is a mechanical engineer. So she can really hit the ground running on a lot of levels, I think, and, be a good voice and very good to the board.
And she's, Dave, your seat,
She's filling Dave's seat.
is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jean is filling.
the vacancy, the
Brett.
vacancy.
Brett.
Yeah,
So how long is Brett's?
I think this is, Mayor, you have a motion to
we need to
replace Brett with correcting the stagger for 2028.
Yeah,
That
because
was the,
this is correcting the stagger.
Sure.
yeah, just the
This is
term,
it.
That's the.
Okay.
Correct the term, not the.
yes.
The term, okay, so.
I think it's two motions, I think, or just, okay, she's appointing. Okay,
so the
thank you.
The motion is to,
Correct
Correct
terms,
the
so
term.
there's appropriate stagger on the members of the planning board and the zoning board of appeals.
yes.
I'm sorry what he said.
You said it, yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, that way we're sort of back on the right track, really.
Yeah.
Going forward. Okay.
Applicable to Jean, right?
Yeah.
Applicable to Jean's appoint, position.
Yeah,
So then Jean will be 2005 to 2020.
28
25 is it, or no?
to 28 to correct the.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Oh,
See, we're
28,
correcting the
yeah,
traffic. And then we
25
can
to
be,
28.
you know,
Yes, yeah,
so it's
28,
catching
okay,
up.
got it.
Yeah, because otherwise everybody's long.
And then campaigns is gonna go to 27.
Yes, exactly.
Great.
Yeah, so that way we're back,
Yeah.
we're finally back on track, because this actually started, I think, way back.
Do any of these need approval?
No, I'm filling the vacancies, I'm filling the vacancies, but,
The motion.
Yeah.
but the motion is still on the
No,
table.
no, John second.
Oh, you did,
Yeah.
thank you, John. It was a quiet
I do
second.
get one in.
You did.
This is my bad ear, I'm sorry, John.
Okay.
I didn't hear you.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Marshall. Trustee Cove,
Hi.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay, so now we corrected the stagger, except for Thursdays, probably. Okay.
If I may, on the same.
Yes,
subject.
come on, it's a fire.
That was good. On the same subject, if we could, when we go on to the website today, I'm sure somebody internally is working on it. But just to reiterate, the Historical Preservation Board shows Dan, Chris, Carolina, Virginia, and Christina.
Mhm.
I know that not to be true.
Mhm.
And the planning board members, I think, are still, let's see, in this case, there's some filling in.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
That all changed June 1st, so
okay.
give me a.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We transitioned everything last week, right before this weekend, and we're still in process, so. I know I've lost some emails a little bit, so I'm sorry if there's anything I think.
Yeah.
Offline, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like 2 minutes, 15 minutes.
Right, and we're all now on our new email,
Yeah.
.gov, you
Yeah,
know.
and mine pumps to the phone, and I was checking my phone today, because I usually always get 15
Okay.
on the day of the meeting. I got 0
Yeah, mine.
until I came out of the executive session, and then it dumps in 9 of them.
Yeah.
Hey,
mine-
everything.
Yeah, there's still,
So we're
Yeah.
still.
yeah, we're working.
Yeah,
Hey,
We're getting a new directory soon.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything will be updated and sent out to the
Yes.
boards, all boards.
The board of trustees page looks nice, so nice prioritization.
okay, thanks.
Okay.
And I've noted for the others, thank you.
All right, next up, we're cruising now. The treasurer, excuse me, the treasurer's report. They all have pretty much the basis. Yeah, this is, it all started with a bill pay, didn't it?
And it does.
And the bills,
And it
yeah,
does.
the bills and bill pay, you're absolutely right. Okay, any questions here? I think it's fairly straightforward.
Yes.
We got our practice district in the. The first one.
Yeah,
That's all right.
It's represented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. It's a new thing,
Okay.
absolutely. Oh, well, you're gonna do that in the clerk's report, am I correct?
About the-
Yeah. Breakfast district,
The last 2 pages,
yeah.
so yeah,
Okay,
yes.
is there a motion?
Motion to approve bill pay as presented.
A second?
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer, motion passes.
Okay. Anything else for the treasurer here?
We also need a motion to approve the HSA funding for Race Malone, there's a typo, and Jacob Gabbett, which is also on the treasurer's front page.
Oh, yeah, these are 2 new employees, it's just setting up their funding.
Make a motion to approve the HSA funding as presented on page 1.
A second.
Okay, we have a second.
Trustee Limbeck,
Aye.
trustee Wilkes,
Aye.
trustee Cove,
Aye.
trustee Marshall.
Aye.
Mayor Plummer,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay. I'll set on that one, we have to the clerks, please.
Yeah, so the only thing with the clerk's report is the last pages of the board packet. We're learning through the first billing and a week of the refuse is that there are some addresses that were included that maybe shouldn't have been in our prior reporting, and then as well as maybe have too many units. So there's one example here where a property has 2 units when it should only have 1. It has one tax map, but it's a duplex, and the owner only needs one unit. So we do need approval from the trustees to adjust that on our end, on the back end. And then the second one is a vacant lot. They do not need a refuse, and so we need approval to remove them from our reporting with
I mean,
SARIC as well.
Essentially, this is an administrative sort of.
Yes. Yes.
Mulligan here,
Can you have a motion to just adjust the refuge district as these anomalies crop up?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
Yes, case by case,
You'd have to reform the district,
Okay.
yeah.
so it would be a motion to correct an administrative error by refunding, have they paid the taxes?
Not this person. No. Yeah. We caught it ahead of time. So
Correcting SAREC not to provide service would not be allowed.
I'll make a motion that Jeff just said.
okay. I have that in the transcript.
But is that only for the?
But we also need for the one, it's just a one
That's a
unit, and
duplex,
was
so-
billed as two.
So and
As a
the duplex which only has one service.
Vacant and duplex.
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, was there a second?
No, second.
Thank you. Trustee Marshall? Trustee Cove? Trustee Wilkes?
Aye.
Trustee Limbeck?
Aye.
Mayor Plummer? Motion passes.
okay,
If I may just comment, it's remarkably easy to remove a resident from the necessity to pay service because they happen to be cohabitating in a duplex. I just want to point out that there are people who are habitating in a single family and who also didn't want service, and it'd be nice to make something extension of respect.
Wait, clarify that, habitating as a duplex.
You have a duplex, you have two people living in it, right? And they decided to share services. Great, we've locked one off, now we don't want to charge anyone. I think that's respectful. We also have two single families that are right there. That's what we did.
I was gonna ask that, so, right.
So we just did.
So we have a duplex with two separate rental units
We
in
have-
one
we have-
house.
We have two residents in a duplex, two different families in a duplex that share one service. And we just.
Why do they share one service?
And so-
The property, yeah, one tax map.
it's
It's one
attributed to
tax
one
parcel.
property and
Yeah.
one tax. site.
That's
One tax parcel,
Mhm.
right?
And also, wasn't it was 4 units or less would be
Would
considered
count as
one
Yeah.
property,
Right.
and anything more than that.
Mhm.
is, yeah,
So because it's.
Yeah.
one
I mean,
parcel-
Steve's not here, but I can remember him saying it, yeah.
Because it's one parcel. Hypothetically, they could have been disconnected homes on one parcel, hypothetically. Right? All I'm suggesting is we just lock one off of the tax roll because they're sharing services. We have two single families that happen to be very close to each other and we're telling them they can't share service. It's fine,
Separate properties.
separate.
Separate Property, the refuge district, as I understand it, and Jeff, maybe, I mean. Has to be, for just practical matters, established per lot. Per actual household.
I know, again, I.
Okay, you know, we-
The question is, it doesn't have to be,
Okay,
it's whatever it is.
So.
well,
And-
okay, but I mean, at this point, that's what we have,
Property-
that's how we have established it, am I correct?
So the theory is the property has to benefit from the district. And in the case of someone who doesn't use the service, it's the environmental roadway, that kind of benefit.
So in the case of the duplex, two families living on the same parcel, you have two families using school, you're in a duplex that should be more expensive of a property and therefore paying a higher tax cost to the school, but they may or may not be using. So on that same argument, they should both be paying for refuse. And what I'm suggesting is refuse is different than schools. And I would have preferred in the same way we just did somebody, we did. It's a little different though, because we now have an example that creates a contradiction. This is a contradiction in my view, and I just want.
I understand your
Mhm.
perception of it, and
Yeah.
I think we all can appreciate
Okay,
that,
that's it.
yeah, thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
There was a question and I was waiting for if you wanted to take it regarding the LOR. I'm waiting for a name and address and he sent it.
Yeah, yes.
Does
Good question, yeah.
Does the LOR change include second floor use? I'm thinking of the buildings in the village where the second floor is a private residence. Peter Goodman, 91 South Main.
There's no change in the OR.
Yeah,
Answered.
thanks, Peter. Okay, just very quickly, because this is supposed to be an abbreviated meeting, any quick memorandums?
I just have one, I noticed that, my first short-term rental is up for sale on Boughton Avenue. The one that's
Yes,
two
I
doors
saw
in,
that. I did
that
see
has the
that.
4
Yes.
garages.
Yes,
Oh.
Cindy Cooper's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's widowed, she's not gonna be able to
She's
sustain her living there, so, that,
Well,
yeah.
The
Yeah,
only
any
thing I had,
other-
I brought it up already with waste management issue, we're gonna handle that internally. With the changeover to the .gov,
Mhm.
do you know when there will be a change for the contact page? Like at the bottom of every page, it has like the email of the village. So if I go to Village of Pittsburgh, New York .gov, at the bottom it says
It
village
needs to be changed.
.com.
It
Yeah,
needs
On
to be
our
changed.
website or on your Outlook?
on the website.
I think I changed it
It's
today.
changed.
Can you look at it again?
I believe it's changed.
I thought I went, I was
Great.
I was
That was on the website.
I was messing with it today, trying to find all of those links of .com, but I'm working on it.
Okay.
So I'll look at that section. I think I know what you're talking about. Thank you.
But that,
But I had a question.
no,
How much
I'm,
is it?
thanks you guys, anything like that, because there's so many moving parts when we do something like that.
And hidden pages.
Yeah, I
That's-
think, and like business cards, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Templates on everything, so, and, anything else?
Nothing for me.
Okay.
I have none, Steve.
No.
Was that my
Duly noted.
Make up for,
Wait.
my other way.
Do you have none?
I think you lost.
We always tease him.
This is great.
Oh, my goodness. Oh,
Guys, 48 minutes, look at that.
wow.
Beautiful.
Okay, we have truths to this. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Sorry.
Ooh, and that was like a whole.
I'm gonna take trustee Limbeck. Thank you.
Aye.
Trustee Wilk,
Aye.
trustee Code,
Hi.
trustee Marshall, Mayor Plummer,
Uh,
motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you. Jerry.